Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today we're going to make this cool slider pop-up easel card maybe that looks just like this. You guys have probably seen this stamp set already. This is my May scripture stamp set. It's the one that is the scent of heaven. I should say, I almost said the fragrance of heaven, but the scent of heaven. And this is what we're going to make today. Look how cool it is. All right, so let's get started. Okay, to make this card, you're going to need several pieces of cardstock, okay? The first one, and I'm double checking all my measurements, is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2, all right? The next one is going to be, double check, 4, I think it's by 5 1/4. Yes, by 5 1/4, okay? This one is also 4 by 5 1/4. This is a black piece for the front, but you can change up the colors. You'll see how they all go, so you can play with that, okay? This guy right here is a little bit bigger, okay? So he is 4 1/8. Nope, I mean, hold on, let me go the right way here. So he is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, okay? 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Don't worry about the measurements. We'll have them in the blog post for you guys, but I just wanted to tell you. And then this one is standard, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now let me show you how they stack up, okay? So this is your base, all right? This is the piece that's going to go on top that needs to be a 1/16 of an inch smaller. You just want a little bit of color showing around it. This guy is going to be our slider mechanism, which we're going to be making in just a few minutes, okay? And then this guy is going to live on the back for our sentiment. I didn't see a reason for this to be an open card. I felt like we could just use the back for our sentiment and then slide it into an envelope. And then this is going to be our slider piece that comes up, okay? All right. In classic Maymay style, I have decided to do this with a pattern because I don't want to do all that measuring and cutting and scoring and all that kind of stuff. So here's what you need, all right? This is just a pattern. You need a piece that is 2 1/2 by 4 1/2, 2 1/2 by 4 1/2. And then what I did was I came down 3/4 of an inch on this pattern and made a mark all the way across. See, I did 3/4, and made myself a line. And then I made a line in the middle just so I could use it for reference, okay? Now, I have seen these cards done on other channels. I watched some channels and I watched how they were done. And the biggest thing that they did was they used their trimmer to kind of cut this center out because it floats in the middle. Well, that's just all too much for me. Y'all know how I am. I have to do it I have to do patterns. It's my thing. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this pattern and you're going to center it in the piece that is, and I am going to measure everything so I don't tell you wrong. The piece that is 4 by 5 1/4. All right, you're going to center this in this is the top piece of your card, okay? So I'm going to center this little guy right here, and I'm kind of eyeballing. If you want to know exact, what you're going to do is you're going to be making a 3/4 inch frame all the way around. But again, I just want to do it easy, okay? So here's what I'm doing. I'm centering that there. I'm using my mat to help me, by the way, up here, and then I'm going to trace it. Now here's the kicker. Don't trace above your horizontal pencil line. That's your mark for stop and go, okay? So we want to start at it at that 3/4 mark, come down and trace, go across and trace, and then come back to the side at that 3/4 mark and trace down. When I move this, you'll see why, okay? So this gap just keeps me centered. That's all that gap was for. All right, so I'm going to lift this up. Can you say, oh, yeah, you can see that pencil mark. So here, here, and here. That's our cut lines, okay? And I wanted it to be that easy, so that's why I had to do it. Otherwise, you're having to put your trimmer blade over it and all that kind of stuff, and I can't do it. All right, now we're going to take our blade. I've been using my blade a lot lately. I enjoy it. It's the easiest way for me to do it. If you need to use your trimmer, you can. You can see right where to cut, so you can certainly use your trimmer. But I'm going to use my blade, and I'm going to give you a tip, which I think is a really good one. Okay, I may even have to film a video on this tip by itself. I don't like to cut on the metal side of my Tim Holtz ruler. This is not the tip, by the way. I don't like to cut on the metal side because it raises up so much off the paper and I can't get exact. I like to cut on this side, the side that kind of bevels in. I just try to be real careful not to cut into my plastic, although I have nicked it down here. All right, here's the tip. So right here is where I want my cut line to stop, right? Because that's where they intersect. So I'm going to take my craft knife and I'm going to go ahead and make myself a little cut right there. What that does is it creates a stopping point to keep me from cutting through and coming on down past where I need to go. So I'm going to come to the top, at the top of my pencil mark. Remember, less pressure, more passes. All right, did you see that kind of click? that's when it landed in that piece I had pre-cut for myself, so I didn't go any further. All right, let me do it one more time. I don't even think I really need to. I'm just running that down. Good. Okay, I think I'm cut through. Let's check it. If I can pick this guy up. Hand's not wanting to work. Nope, I do need to. I didn't quite get through. Less pressure, more passes is what I'm trying to do for you guys. Okay. So get back into the groove of it. Now, take your time with this. Of everything you're going to do in this card, this is the part you need to take time in. The rest of it's going to be super easy, so spend a minute here getting that nice and crisp and cut. Very good. Now, before I do this one, I'm going to come across to here. Again, I'm going to do what I told you about. I'm going to make myself a stop cut, all right? So I need to stop right here, and if I just go ahead and make, it's not even 1/8 of an inch that I'm doing, just a little tiny nick. If I do that, when I get down there, I'll get quiet, and you'll be able to hear what happens. See how it just stopped? It just goes stop. Yeah, I got through that, I could tell. All right, and now I'm going to cut my one other piece right here on this pencil mark. We're not cutting up here, just this pencil mark. Oh, I'll make myself a stop mark. It always helps. I'm not sure I got all of that. That felt a little tight on those corners. So all I'm going to do is just take my blade and just kind of sit it into the paper until those release. That one's up. And I'm just going to sit it here and sit it here. Just putting a little pressure and see if that lifted it. Yeah, got it. All right, I'm going to keep that flat like that. I don't want to bend this yet. I want to do some scoring to make it bend really well. So I need to get my scoreboard. Now here's where we're going to score it, okay? You're going to score at 3/4. This is your first one. And you see what I've got? I've got my cut line here and my no cut here. We're going to score this end, all right? So what we want to do is we want to go to the 3/4 mark and not score out here, but score from cut line to cut line. That's it, okay? We're making a box, but we don't want to cut on this end. So cut line to cut line. Then what I want you to do is I want you to come down here to 2 5/8. Now that's if you want this to go into the middle. You can come back. Matter of fact, I think I'll come back on this one. The middle of this flap is 2 5/8. If you want it to go there, that's fine. But for what I'm making today, I want it to come back a little. So I'm going to go to 2 1/4, and I'm going to make a score mark. Okay, that's just because I want my perfume bottles that I'm putting on here to live a little higher back. Okay, and give me more space for stamping right here. And then right here, I'm going to score another 1/2 inch up. So let me show you what I'm going to do. Here's 4. I'm going 1/2 inch from the bottom. Remember, this cut line's at 4 1/2. Okay, so I want to score at 4 right there. And I'm just cutting, I'm just scoring that center flap. I'm not scoring the frame around the edge. We want that frame to stay intact. So see how none of that scored, only the middle. Okay. I don't want to fold this yet and show you that because it works really well if I keep it flat until it's time to fold it. All right. I forgot to tell you about something that you need. You also need these little strips, okay? You need 4 strips that are 5 1/4, and you need 2 strips that are 4 1/4. Now this I added myself. I just think that this makes the whole card work really smoothly. So I put them on white paper so you could see them there, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the back of my slider mechanism, and I'm going to glue these down on the edges. What these are going to be are spacers for my slider piece to let it run really smooth. So the first thing I'm going to do is run a bead of glue right down this edge. My glue bottle is so empty right now. Okay, I shook it down. Let's see if that's better. Yes. Okay, so I'm running a bead of glue like this, and I'm going to take one of these 1/4 inch wide pieces, and I'm going to line it up at the top. Also, I like for these strips to be the same color as my cardstock, so if any hangs off, they don't show. Again, we're just making spacers. And probably if you're not using, I'm using some Not Your Mama's cardstock to pull through here because I think that's a good weight. If you're not using one that thick, you might only need 1 of these for spacer. But I found in my sample that I tried, I needed 2. It was a little too tight, and I didn't want it to be something that someone had to pull or tug on. This bottle is so empty. Bless its heart. Okay. Then, so I'm going to stack these up 2 high, and that's going to be my spacer. Again, that's a lot if you're using just regular, regular cardstock. I'm just using Not Your Mama's, which is super thick. It's 130 pounds, so that should tell you how thick it is. All right, I'm going to keep going. These are going to make a 3-part frame around our card. We're not going to put one at the top because we got to have that slider come out the top. So this is going to go just like this. And so like this part's going to stay open. Where the open part of the slider is, that's the bottom of our card. I think this is one of those watch it till the end projects. I think it'll make more sense. Now, you could use foam here. You could use foam tape to do what I'm doing. The reason I didn't is because I didn't want it quite that thick. I wanted it just a scant bit less than my foam tape. And another reason I didn't want to use foam tape is because if you use a tape, sometimes cardstock will stick to it when it's sliding, and I need this to be pretty smooth. So you might want to use your foam tape. You can try it. You can always powder it. You can always just run your powder tool or some baby powder or some cornstarch or something over it to take the sticky away. But for me, this makes a really good thin, see how thin this is? You can hardly even see it. That's what I wanted, something you could barely see. Now I'm just going to make sure I'm not hanging off, and I am right here on this edge. I have a little bit hanging off the edge, just like that. So I'm going to get that guy off there. All right, now what we need to do is assemble the slider piece, okay? So this is the piece that's going to slide. Where it's going to live is right inside of here, but the trick to make this work is this little area of the score part. So this is the bottom open part. This is that 1/2-inch score we made. This guy has to live on that 1/2-inch score and stop at the top, all right? So that's what makes this guy really work, is gluing him right to the bottom. But do you see what happens if you glue him right to the bottom and you don't put anything here? You can't see him. So we need to poke a hole. We need to punch a hole right here so we can see him. This is my 3/4 inch circle punch, and I'm going to eyeball center this. If eyeballing is not your thing, you can measure. I will not be center, I promise you that, but I might be close. I'm fairly close. So now what will happen is when we glue this guy down to here, okay, he will then be able to be seen up here, and we can tie a ribbon on it or something like that to help it pull out, which I'm going to put a little ribbon in there or some baker's twine or something to help it pull. You can also make him slightly taller and adjust your measurement so he can still fit in the card or whatever. You can play with that, but this is the basic mechanism, all right? Now, I'm not going to glue this down yet because I want to stamp it, because when this pulls out, it's also going to be seen in the back, okay? So I want to stamp something up here, and I'm going to stamp something inside the card. So let's make the mark for those things. Okay, here's the trick. Here's how you're going to make this work, okay? If you, when you make this, what you want to do is, or for me, what I think makes it work is this. You see this white piece that barely hangs out? Using the same color for that and for this makes this look very seamless, okay? So when this piece is in here and it's attached to our little slider piece, when we pull back, it's going to reveal the same color underneath. But if you have a different color, it's fine. It's up to you. It'll just be a little more obvious what's happening, okay? I'm going to use the same color. But what I do want to do is mark this guy for where I'm going to be doing my stamping. So I'm going to put this in here and lift this little panel up so I can get under it. And I'm eyeball centering. I'm going to go ahead and fold this back. I'm going to anyway, okay? Just going to fold that back. I'll make it flat for you guys to see. And I'm going to eyeball center this with my little spacers all attached to it. And I'm going to make myself a mark for where I can stamp. So lightly, and I'm probably doing this more heavy-handed than you would need to, but I'm lightly making myself a little mark for where my stamp's going to live. Now I just got to decide what I want to stamp in there. So I'm using our new perfume set. That is beautiful right there. That is perfect. This is the one that says your friendship is a sweet fragrance in my life. I love that. So I'm going to put that one in there. Pick this guy up. I'm going to use a little Nocturne, which is black, and then I'm going to stamp it right here. Beautiful. Okay, now I can erase this right here. And as long as I do it pale, it goes right away. I can always use my, sand eraser. I couldn't get it out. I can always use a sand eraser if I do it too heavy. But this was just fine. Okay, so now I've got my inside stamp. So when I pull my slider, this will show. And what I want to do is decide what I want to put on my tag. So when this slides, that's going to come out, and the top of my tag's going to show too, so I can put something there. So let's see what I want to stamp at the top. So I'm going to do the heartfelt counsel of a friend is as sweet as perfume from Proverbs. I want to put that here at the top. Something like this. Oh, I can't tell if it's straight. I put it crooked on my block and I'm trying to overcompensate. Not bad. We're going to go with that. All right. The other thing I want to do is I want to make this look like a tag when it pulls out. So I'm going to use my corner, my angle punch, and I'm going to use the large side. And I'm just going to punch here and here. And while I've got it, I'm going to poke a hole for the ribbon or the twine I'm going to put through. I'm not sure what I'm going to put through yet, but I'm going to poke a hole right here. Again, this is a thicker cardstock that I'm using, so that way it'll hold up really well to this kind of pulling and tugging. All right, now we can glue this guy down, okay? So what you want to do is this is the back. Remember, this is where our little sliders are, our little spacers that are going to allow this to have some room, okay? What we want to do is we want to glue this right to that 1/2 inch spot. Before I do that, I'm going to fold my score line. So I've already folded this one. Let me crease it real good, because that's going to help this to slide easier. And then this one comes forward, okay, because it's going to stand up and make this an easel card. And then this one comes back like so, okay? And you could even fold these back and forth to make them even smoother of a ride as it goes, but I think we're going to be okay. All right, so I'm going to turn this over like this, all right? And inside that little small score line, I'm going to add some glue. You could do sticky tape if you wanted to. And then this is the piece that goes in. It needs to go stamp side up. And I'm going to line this up centered inside of my piece and at the bottom of that little flap. Right like so. So centered inside and at the bottom of the flap. Okay. So now when we pull this, here's what's going to happen when it's in its little thing. See what it's going to do? Isn't that awesome? I love it. Okay. I can add my little twine or whatever. I don't know. I might use ribbon. Let me decide what I want to put in there. So I'm just going to use some silver twine, but use a couple of pieces of it. So use that piece and this piece. And then I might even tie a bow on it. Because I'm using perfume bottles for this, and I think this will be pretty. Let's see if I can put them through at the same time. Okay, so I got those through like that. I think I will tie a bow up there, just like it was a tag. Remember, because we glued that in, it's not going to come out. So they're not going to be able to pull it out like a tag, but it will look like a tag when it gets pulled up. And I'm going to trim these down because they're a little too long. They can get tucked into the envelope. They'll be fine. Okay, so there's what we'll put at the top to pull. I'm going to trim these little tails too. Okay, so now this piece gets glued right down to this piece. All right. So it's going to hide our little sentiment, and it's going to get glued just like this, okay? And we're going to glue those riser pieces. So what I'm going to do is flip this over, get that pretty straight, get it closed down, and I'm going to put my glue on my little riser pieces I made. And I'm trying to make sure I get all of the riser covered because this is going to get some wear and tear. Then I'm just going to center this here, and because we laid this down and eyeballed it first, our sentiment will be in the right spot. Make sure your ribbons are out where they're supposed to be so it can be pulled, and just rub that down. Now what you want to do is you want to decorate the front with something that'll pop up. So anything that'll fit right here when this slides, look, it reveals that. Isn't that beautiful? I love it. It will pop up. So here's what I'm going to put on. I made these 3 little perfume bottles from our stamp set. And I think I want them to go something like this here. But I'm kind of thinking I want another piece behind them of some sort to make them really pop on the black. So let me get that and see what I'm going to use. So I decided, I found this little polka dot piece of craft cardstock. I'm actually putting this onto a piece of craft. You saw that earlier. So I thought this would be cute to live right here. Okay, and then when the cards pull up, it'll stand up. And then I'm going to layer my little perfume bottles. I'm not exactly sure how. Maybe something like this. And I'm going to pop them up on foam on top of this little guy. So let's just decorate this really quick. I'm going to lay these around several different ways. I have played and played and tried to decide. Y'all know how that is, right? It took me forever to pick paper this time. Usually I'm pretty quick with picking paper, but today it was a minute. Right, there's one layout. Let's try putting you up here. Putting you here and you here. That one's kind of pretty. And let's see what happens if you're at the top. And you are here and you are here. I think I like this layout because that really takes up the space of the oval. I think I do. This is going to be the hardest part for me. Let's see if I put you over here and you over here. So I kind of like that layout. And now I'm wondering if I want to tie a ribbon around this one. Let's just see what happens, what it looks like. It can't hurt to look, can it? Nope, I don't like the paper swan around it. All right, we're going with this layout. Maybe I just want 2 bottles. Maybe that one's just throwing me a little bit. I kind of like just the 2 bottles. I think this one's just too masculine. I think I'm going to go with that and then maybe add some bling. How about that? That whole time I thought I wanted 3. I don't. I want 2. All right, so let's trim off a little bit of foam here. Put that on the back of you. I got a little too thick there. Let's see if we can put this piece here. Pretty close. So this one's going to go down first. And then I need to see how much I need of this. Yep, these 2 just look better. Isn't that something? I bet some of you guys were yelling it at me already. Okay, let's put this one up here. Get some more foam. Put this piece right there. Okay, let's lay this guy in place somewhere up here, about like that. And then this little guy. And we'll put you in here. Cute. I think I'm going to come back and stamp the word love right there inside that little bottle. I just think it'll be cute and kind of put a sentiment to the front. So I have my little love word there. And a little block. This I should have thought about ahead of time, but I didn't. But I think I'll be okay. It doesn't have to look perfect either because those stamps are kind of drawn, kind of messy. Good deal. That worked. Okay. All right. So this guy has to be glued here. It cannot be glued here because it won't lift. It's going to work like an easel. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you don't glue it any lower than your score line right there because you're going to need that to work. Therefore, if you don't want your piece to be 1/2 inch, you can always make it smaller. I'm going to come back and see if I have something I can put there. I think it'll be cute. All right, so I'm going to glue this in the bottom half of this guy. And I'm putting my glue on here so you guys can see in the bottom half. And then I'm going to lay this in place just to that score line. Make sure my ribbons are out like so. And let's see what I might want to put across this little piece here. So I found this little piece, this black and white stripes. I think it'll be cute. And then I'm going to add some bling to it. I never do bling. I'm going to do one more thing, but I'm going to show you how this works before we get to that point. So I'm just dressing up that strip. Now let's add some bling. Let's just put a few of these little guys on just for pretties. In hindsight, I think I would have liked if I had embossed my black background or either stamped it. That would have been pretty too. But this is not bad. Very kind of classy, kind of chic and elegant because it's simple. Now, the other thing I want to do is I want to put some crystal glaze on those. I think that'll be beautiful on those bottles. But I want to show you how it works first, okay? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's flip this guy. Let's put him onto his base. So this is the base that he will then live on, and see how that's going to bring those colors out. Everything ties to the middle now. So all we have to do is glue this guy to this base. And then I'm not going to put my panel on the back yet. Here's why. I don't know who's getting this card, and I might want to stamp something else. And I'd hate to put it together and then stamp it and mess it up, but I am going to show you where the panel goes. If you guys watch our Crafter after shows and you see all the cards that are sent in by you guys, our viewers, you will know how to do this because a lot of our viewers use the back of a piece like this to write on, and it's perfect. So this is the size of an A2 size card, and then you just take another piece and you'll glue it back here. But I'm going to wait until I know who this is going to in case I want to stamp some other thing, or who knows what I want to put on here. So I'm not going to glue that down yet. But look, here's what happens when you pull this. they get that. And it will sit up like so. And even the back has a sentiment when it sits. It sits on the table. How pretty is that? I love how that turned out. It looks like a belt. I love that. That's beautiful. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to close this guy down. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I've got some time to let this dry, so I'm going to take my crystal glaze and I'm going to glaze these bottles. They just need to be shiny. They are plastic and they're acetate and they need to shine. So I'm going to cover the whole thing like so. Now I colored these with my alcohol markers and I fussy cut them myself. They're super easy to fussy cut. They're just straight lines. And so if you saw the reveal video for these stamps, you will have seen where I colored them. I just colored them and Jordan put them in fast motion for you guys to watch me color. Now this won't take long to dry at all. And when it does, those bottles will be clear and shiny and shimmery. And I'm going to turn them just a little bit so you can kind of see that on there. But won't that be beautiful? I think I'm going to add a little bit more. This is starting to sink in and that's good. But I think I want that to be a little tighter right here. If you need to touch up while it's good and wet. Don't try to touch up later. Don't come back and add on top after it started drying because it will not land well. You want to pick it up, swirl it around, look at it a little bit, and make sure every section is covered, and then leave it to dry. And that is it, guys. It's not that hard. The mechanism itself is super easy, and it gives you all kinds of things to play with, or all different ways to play. The only thing I wish I would have done, and I may change this for thumbnails, you may see me do it, I may go get our new white organza ribbon and put through there when this dries. I think that organza ribbon will be real pretty up there. All right, guys, there you go. That is how to make the slider card. We'll do it one more time. And I'll do it quick so we don't mess up our bottles. Isn't it cute? I'm not going to pull it too far. I don't want my bottles to leak, but there we go. I want them to dry. That's how it works. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope that was an easier way for you guys to make it. I don't know if you've tried it before, but I think making the pattern, I always say that about patterns, you probably need to make yourself a binder just for patterns. But these kind of things right here make life so easy. So I hope that helped, and all of your measurements and everything will be in the blog post linked below. If you make this card, I 100% want to see it. You know I do. Head to my website, maymaymadeit.com, and share it with us on our customer gallery. You can upload your photos there so we can see what you're making, and you can get lots of inspiration. We have thousands of entries over there that you will get so much inspiration from my stamp sets and things that are used in our store for you guys to be able to see how to use them as well. Thanks so much for watching today, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.